Arizona football might have had a tough season, but that did not affect them on early signing day. The Wildcats basketball programs continue to excel, but the men's team has a tough matchup against Tennessee. Pac-12 women's basketball has some shining stars, while others are falling beyond short of expectations. All this and more on today's episode of Locked On Pac-12 podcast.
You are Locked On Pac-12, your daily podcast on the Pac-12 Conference. It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Pac-12 podcast. Thanks for making this your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by NetSuite. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. Head to netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA for special end of the year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. I'm your host, Cindy Robinson, former Pac-12 student athlete. And joining me today is Michael Luke from Locked On Wildcats. Michael, your Wildcats have been killing it, not only on the basketball program, but football program looks like they're trying to turn things around early. We had early signing day just last week, and Arizona was among one of the top teams in the Pac-12 conference when it came to the draft class. So looking at this draft class with four-star recruits committed to the Wildcats, how are you feeling? Are you optimistic about Jedd Fisch's first draft class?
Oh, I'm incredibly optimistic about Jedd Fisch's first draft class. I mean, it's when you follow Arizona basketball, or excuse me, Arizona football, you generally are used to seeing Arizona beat out schools like, I don't know, New Mexico or schools like that. So when you see the #1 wide receiver in the nation commit to the U of A, on top of multiple USC decommits signing with Arizona as well, it makes it very interesting. And I have no clue if Jedd Fisch can coach, but Cindy, he can certainly recruit, and that's a big part of this.
It makes me wonder what he was able to say to flip those recruits away from teams like USC, where I know USC is rebuilding and growing and probably gives some people some concern about what the future of the program is going to look like. But Arizona had a very tough season, and I feel like that's tough to recruit after. But maybe I can't even say what it could be besides the idea of, well, you'll be a part of turning around the program and you'll get a chance to play. Those are like incentives, I'm sure, that will attract a recruit.
Absolutely. Now a lot of people they can sell, playing early, all of that stuff, but you also have to have a vision beyond just that. How can I make you better? How can I put you into the NFL? How can I be, the guy that gets you to where you want to go? And Arizona right now has been that, or excuse me, Jedd Fisch has been able to sell that vision. Now, I don't think a lot of people are holding it against that they're 1-11. Because, I mean, let's be honest here. He took over a team that was 0-12. So, I mean, it's hard for me to really sit there and say that that's, that you can really blame Jedd Fisch for that. But I look at it though, and I say, you've got all these kids coming in right now. If you can build, and they're all California kids, and we know how you California people are, Cindy, and that when you're big time athletes, you all talk, where the hit place to go is. And you know what? If you could turn Arizona in kind of the hit place to go, then, why not? And that's so far something that he's been able to sell. But when you get a guy like Tetairoa McMillan to sign with U of A, who, again, is the highest profile recruit of the modern rankings, that's something that we're just not used to around these parts.
I was going to say that was what stood out to me a lot, was that it was a lot of California kids that Arizona was able to grab. And granted, I feel like that's a big part of the Pac-12 conference, recruiting in California. There's a lot of talent here, a lot of different schools all throughout the Southern California region, the Northern California region, that produce top talent when it comes to athletics. And so if you can tap into that and get some of those recruits, you're definitely making a turn for the better when it comes to your team. And
what they were able to, what Fisch was able to do as well, Cindy, was be able to tell them that, if you listen, it's going to be a process here, but you're all going to be in college 3 or 4 years. Let's get this thing going. You can play almost immediately, if not immediately. And on top of that, if you don't, you'll be a contributor in some way, shape, or form. So I look at it and, this is a guy that's really been able to sell something, and he's got something that's exciting to sell. We generally don't see this around these parts. That's for sure.
I agree. I think it's very exciting for the Wildcats football program, and it's already starting. I thought we would have to wait till the next season or closer to next season to really get excited about, the future of the Wildcats program. But now he's starting early and getting the fans, excited about what's to come and not harping on what already has passed.
Yeah. And, kids really, quite frankly, don't care much about what happened in the past. Yeah. I mean, a lot of, sure, Kevin Sumlin was there, but, at the end of the day, these kids aren't playing for Kevin Sumlin. They're playing for Jedd Fisch. And he's been able to tell them that, hey, you can 100% make this a place that you can come in and you can play immediately. Right. And, and the word got out, and he did it the right way. And I think that's what's exciting about all this.
Yeah. Well, coming up next, we'll talk about Wildcats basketball and how everything is going with them.
Right.
Bowl season is here, Pac-12 fans, and there's 5 bowl games to go still. I've been telling you about PrizePicks, and if you still haven't signed up, what are you waiting for? In addition to the college football action, PrizePicks makes college basketball more exciting. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. They're the leader in college sports daily fantasy, and they offer more college football and basketball props than anyone in the world. They also offer all the star players of the Power 5, as well as mid-major players that you might not have ever even heard of. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of. In basketball, you can play points, rebounds, assists, threes made, and more. All of the users that deposit and use the promo code will receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Just be sure to use promo code Locked On. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. And it's just you versus the projected numbers. PrizePicks allows mixed sports entries. You can take the over on Embiid, combine it with the under on Rodgers in the same entry. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. So don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com and use promo code Locked On, or go to the App Store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. This is it, the putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours. But on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. With visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budgeting, and more, NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time while staying well ahead of your competition. 93% of surveyed businesses increased their visibility and control after upgrading to NetSuite. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite. For the new year, NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/locked. Head to netsuite.com/locked for this special one-of-a-kind financing offer on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. netsuite.com/locked. Thanks again for making Locked On Pac-12 podcast your first listen every day. Make sure to check out the Ultimate College Football Playoff Preview 2021, local experts, betting advice, and draft analysis. The most comprehensive college football playoff preview begins this Friday. All right, Michael.
Let's do it.
We've been super excited about the basketball program. Both the women's and men are still undefeated, but that might change very soon when it comes to the men. They're facing a Tennessee team who has been playing pretty well and might just give them a run for their money. But I will say I still believe in this Arizona team. They're 11-0 right now, sitting at number 6. And Tennessee is at number 19. So they're still considered the favorite here. And yeah, I want to hear your thoughts about this matchup.
Yeah, I would say that, it wouldn't surprise me if Tennessee starts off fast in this game because it's at home and, you're playing a team in Arizona that doesn't have a ton of road experience. But, this is Arizona has proven itself to me by this point. It's shown that, this is a team that can compete with anybody. I think it showed that against Illinois. It showed that against Michigan. This will be a real test, obviously, to see how this game does unfold. But I do look at it and I think to myself that this is a team that's probably going to really find out a lot about itself against Tennessee. No matter if they win or they lose, I think that you're going to be able to show that, okay, we were able to build off this, we were able to build off that, and, and basically just kind of go from there. I am curious, like I said, though, to see how this team does play against a team in a very hostile environment.
Yeah, on the road is probably the toughest, for any team to play. It's different when it's like neutral grounds or you're playing in a tournament or whatever. But when you're going into a university and all their fans are there, and there's a lot of, I would say, high stakes at this point. Last few games before entering into tough Pac-12 play, conference play. And I think for Arizona now, there's this sense of expectation to maintain this undefeated status, right?
Right.
It's great to be playing so well, and if they were to lose one, is it the end of the world? No, but because they've started off so hot and kind of set the bar up high, each game is a little tougher and has a little more implication to it.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because once you get to once you get up there to 6, people are going to start taking note of you. You're going to start seeing people really scrutinizing how you're playing, and I think that's what's a little bit different. But when you go to a place like Arizona, when you go to a place like a Washington State to run track, know that the best people on there are going to be keeping an eye on you. So yeah, I mean, but that's also what you train for, and. If you don't want that pressure, then, well, you're probably signing up for the wrong sport. I think that's where it's a little bit more unique for sure.
Yeah. Now on the women's side, I think I've read that Arizona is in COVID protocols right now.
Yes.
They're still undefeated, but they only played one game last week instead of 2. And so that's already affecting their schedule. I'm sure they're going to try to postpone those games and reschedule them later. But again, I know I keep bringing this up, but I'm wondering more and more as each week goes by how much COVID is going to affect this season. And we're already seeing it. It's luckily not affecting their standing because they're sitting at number 4 still, but they weren't able to move up.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's where I don't see it really affecting Arizona a ton. Now, Arizona, knock on wood's been very fortunate that they haven't had to deal with a ton of different COVID issues, whether basketball, football, and this is really the first time that they've had to deal with that. But I think that the women have proven themselves enough that if they have to sit out for a little while, I don't think that it's going to adversely affect their ranking because I think people know what they're all about at this point, Cindy.
Right. And I agree with you there. There's some other teams that I definitely want to talk about when it comes to the women's, Stanford and a few other teams that aren't doing as well as Stanford and Arizona and aren't really representing their teams as they would probably like to, but we'll have that coming up next. BetOnline has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the college bowls season and the pro football playoffs. BetOnline remains your number 1 spot for all the sports action this season. So head to the website or use the mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. So don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available. BetOnline is where the game starts. This holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar or even better than a candy bar, Built Bar. Filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, but high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. There's so many flavors, you'll have a hard time choosing. Will you have raspberry or mint brownie, cherry or double chocolate, cookies and cream, or peanut butter brownie? Low on energy during this shopping season? Well, Built Bar will give you that extra fuel you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers. Or if you're standing in endless shopping lines, Built Bar can give you that extra something to keep you going. So throw one in your jacket or purse. You never know when you'll need it. Also, because it's a season of peace and love, don't bring up your favorite Built Bar flavor at family parties. People are so passionate about their favorite flavor, they'll fight for it and things could get out of hand. Like some of the those marshmallowy treats around the holidays, well, you need to get your hands on Built Bar Puffs. They're light, fluffy, and marshmallowy through and through. Different flavors, all covered in chocolate. Tastes so good, you won't believe that they're filled with protein. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order at built.com. Okay, so Michael, when it comes to the women of the Pac-12 conference, typically there's a few teams that we expect to be on top. UCLA is one of them, Stanford, Arizona, obviously, after the season they had last year. And I feel like we're falling short. Oregon is not the team that we've seen in past seasons. Stanford actually had a huge game. They're sitting at number 2 right now and had a huge game against the number 1 South Carolina team that they almost beat, but they allowed them to come back from an 18-point deficit, which is the largest margin that South Carolina has ever had to come back from in the last 3 seasons. And that kind of worries me slightly. Although the game, I think the final score was like 61-65, something in that range. It bothers me that Stanford let them come back because now I'm worried about their ability to close in high profile matchups.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now, it's one thing, though. The only thing I will say, and I totally agree with you, is that yes, they haven't shown that ability to close. But I think the one thing is when you've got the resume they have, a lot of times you'll look at it and say you're going to be able to figure that out. Right. And I do kind of wonder if that's going to really be the case for this team. But, it's when you've got that name on the front of your jersey, though, and you've been the places they have, I'm not going to worry too much about that just because of the background that's in play right there. But it's a very legitimate question, and it's something that I've had other people ask me as well, and I don't really know the answer to it other than the fact that it does seem like they have a very difficult time closing games. Yeah.
Well, we'll say this. They're still one of the top teams in the Pac-12.
For sure.
We still expect them to have a great season. But a team that I'll say that we see falling short is that UCLA team. They're currently in COVID-19 protocols and have canceled their final 3 non-conference games. They were actually picked to finish third in the Pac-12, and they're sitting at, I want to say 4-3 right now. So they're going to face USC on December 28th. That'll be their next game, going straight into conference play after having to sit out multiple games due to COVID-19 protocols. Do you feel like they're going to come back rusty?
That's a great question. I would imagine so, because when you're a college athlete, it's so much different than when you're in the NBA or you're a professional athlete where that's the only thing you do. You're dealing with 18, 19-year-old kids right here. And that to me is what's different in that you're dealing with professionals in the pros. They should be able to look past a lot of that. College kids, though, are a different animal entirely. They got a lot of different things going on. You got your social life, you got your, your basketball life, you got your academic life. And when one of those things is kind of disrupted, it changes everything entirely. So I think there will be a little bit of an adjustment for sure.
Yeah. And then the other team that is kind of creeping their way into the rankings, or hoping to creep their way into the rankings, is Colorado. A lot of a lot of people are talking about them. They're starting to get the votes to be considered in the AP polls. What are your thoughts about them? Are they kind of like that silent horse where you didn't expect them to, actually be this competitive in the Pac-12 conference?
Yes, I think that's exactly what it is. And it'll be interesting to see once they get into the Pac-12, Cindy, because this is the big leagues. This is this is the best conference in there. So yes, they've looked really good out of conference, but you're going to start finding out when they play Oregon, Arizona, all those different schools that are, Stanford, that are incredibly talented. Even the ones that aren't top 25 are top 25 type talent. So yes, I'll say they look promising, but not to that. I'm still in a wait and see approach.
Okay. And I'll say this, the teams I'm hoping to see some type of progress or upgrade in the next few weeks from is a team like Cal and Oregon in itself. And I would even say Oregon State. Those three teams have, I think, the talent on their team to produce better than what we're seeing them do. Cal actually just one of their freshmen was just named Pac-12 Freshman of the Week, Jada Curry, and we talked about her coming from California. And I'm just thinking they're not living up to the hype behind them, or what maybe they could have more hype behind them if they were producing more. Maybe that makes more sense.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's real. I think that's really the case right here. Is that if they were, they would have a little bit more hype if they were, I think, producing at a higher level. But the great thing about when you're going into the Pac-12 regular season is that you've got a bunch of players that. You've got a bunch of teams that are going to really be able to find out just how good they are, because we already know there's 3 or 4 different teams there that you can really test your wares against. So we will know. There won't be any of this, big fish in a little pond type situation here. We're going to know exactly where every team stands nationally by the time all of this is done.
All right. Looking forward to it. The holiday season is basically the time when Pac-12 conference play really gets going. And so I'm excited to continue talking Pac-12 basketball with Michael Luke. As always, we appreciate your insight. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. You guys can check out Michael Luke on Locked On Wildcats Monday through Friday. He's giving you everything you need to know about the Arizona Wildcats, from football to basketball and anything in between. You can check out Locked On Wildcats on Twitter at LO Wildcats. And then Michael Luke is on there at Iron Mike Luke. You can check out Locked On Pac-12 podcast on Twitter at LO_Pac-12. Make sure you check out the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And then on YouTube, you can like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for making Locked On Pac-12 podcast your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Other than that, make sure you guys stay locked on Pac-12 on the Locked On Network.